Hello and welcome from the headquarters of Africa's largest telecoms company. My name is Fifi Peters. MTN has just launched a new campaign called We're Good Together. The company is looking to further dial into its role of creating shared value and prosperity for Africa by flexing its balance sheet further to bridge the digital divide. Of course, MTN is celebrating 25 years of existence, its history going all the way back to the dawn of democracy here in South Africa. But to tell us more about the For Good campaign and what it is all about, I am joined by MTN's Group CEO and President Rob Shuter. Rob, thanks so much for your time and hosting us in your corporate home.
It's a pleasure.
So this new initiative, exactly what is it about?
I think what we looked at really what Africa needed to be successful going forward. And we see two key problems in the continent. The one is that we only really have internet access for about a third of the population. And the second is that only about a third of the population have access to the formal banking system. So for Africa to prosper, for Africa to move ahead and not be left further behind, these key elements are super critical. And if we progress in digital and financial inclusion, we also will stimulate small business and we'll create jobs. And it seemed to us that this core objective is, in a very interesting way, the same thing that the countries need to prosper is also what MTN Group needs to deliver for our long-term strategy. So you've got an amazing alignment between what's good for the continent and what's good for MTN. So that's, I think, the first part of it. And then the second part of it is, how are we actually going to get there? And our experience over the last 20, 25 years, if we look back, is that everything we achieved in partnership. You know, either partnering with the countries we operate in to make sure that we had the right licenses, we had the right spectrum, we could roll out into rural areas, partnering with our suppliers, partnering with the people that work in the company, partnering with our distribution partners. So I think what we really wanted to shine a light on is that it is partnering that has made us success in the last 25 years, and it is partnering that is so much required now for both Africa, the countries, and MTN to be successful going forward.
But of course, Rob, many are aware of the challenges that MTN has faced in recent years. And the question comes about as to why have you chosen to launch this initiative at this time?
Well, I think it was about the power of the story to motivate not only ourselves to do better going forward, but also to celebrate the partnership, to encourage partnerships in the future. We historically as MTN have only really told two stories, I think. We've told a story about we've got great offers and, you know, get an iPhone on our network, voice bundles, data bundles, quality networks. So in that respect, quite transactional. If you think back on all the MTN campaigns and commercials, that's 90% of what you would see. And more recently, we tried also to tell the story that we take some of the profits we make and through our MTN foundations, we invest them in charitable projects. They're also an important story. But we missed, in a way, the most important story, which was that we are covering Africa with high-speed data networks, that we are connecting today across all of our businesses more than 80 million people to the internet, that we have more than 30 million customers accessing mobile money through MTN. We've created more than 5 million jobs across the continent. So actually, the real power and ability of MTN to do good, to be for good, is actually in the core business. And that's the story that hasn't been told, and we felt it needed to be told.
But in terms of the initiatives and some of the things that you have managed to do as a company, many companies in fact believe that they also do quite a lot of good for communities and for the economy. They believe that they do this or achieve this via initiatives like CSI, which begs the question, what makes this different from that?
That I think is really at the heart of it. There is a big difference between saying we are a commercial company and we do good through our charitable work, and MTN's story is that we are a for good company, because the core business of MTN, which is delivering internet connectivity, financial services connectivity, and the right kind of digital services, is actually what is most required in most of the markets in which we operate. It's again this alignment between the national priorities, what our partner governments and partner civil societies need, and what is the core strategy of MTN. And I think that is very much different from many other industries, whether that's entertainment or resource industries. We are right at the center of what the continent desperately needs.
Yet despite being able to have connected so many millions of Africans over the years and played a significant role in bridging the digital divide, there's still a lot of challenges that many emerging markets and frontier markets here on the continent are facing.
Yeah, there are a lot of challenges, and I spend a lot of time in the markets. I spend a lot of time talking to senior ministers, heads of state as well. The challenges of Africa are still many relics of colonialism, apartheid in South Africa, centuries of slavery even before that. So we generally have countries that still have a big developmental agenda. They need to roll out infrastructure, they need to roll out healthcare and roads and sanitation, things that in the developed world we would take that for granted. So there's big pressure to roll out the development agenda, big pressure to create work for the youthful people of Africa. 60% of the population is below the age of 24. So these are vibrant, young, well-educated people. They are used to living in the digital age, but they need employment opportunities. And amidst the challenges of the developmental agenda, you then have quite volatile economic environments, very susceptible to commodity prices, to exchange rates. Economies generally not that well diversified for all the reasons we've discussed. So there are a lot of challenges in our markets. And we really believe that MTN is a key partner in addressing those challenges. We are, I would say, the biggest infrastructure spender in Africa. We spent this year $2 billion on capital expenditure across the markets. That's around 28 billion rand. In the last 5 years alone, MTN invested 150 billion rand in infrastructure. And because these are successful businesses and they're profitable generally, we paid 150 billion rand in tax.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, yeah.
But talking about the development and also the global drive to develop further, as outlined by the United Nations and their Sustainable Development Goals, what is your view on the continent being able to achieve that goal by the deadline 2030, I believe?
Well, there are many challenges there as well. As I was saying earlier, if you look at the SDGs, one of the key SDGs, SDG 9, I think it is infrastructure investment. So Africa has an infrastructure backlog. So not only do we have to modernize what we've got, as many other countries would have to do, but we also have a big catch-up to play. We have a lot of challenges in many of the other SDGs as well, gender equality, water, carbon, job creation. So I think we have a real challenge. I think we need to be realistic about that. But I guess the mobile industry generally believes that it is a core industry that will help countries to progress with the SDGs. The mobile industry was the first industry to adopt the SDGs when they replaced the Millennium Development Goals. And particularly for the mobile industry, and particularly for Africa, we will provide a lot of the key infrastructure that's required. We'll provide the digital highways, and we'll create a lot of the jobs as well.
It sounds like you are saying that we will do our role as the mobile industry and we'll do our role as MTN, but it's a partnership, and there's another element that is needed in that equation for the continent to reach its SDGs.
That's exactly right, because everything we managed to deliver to date, we cover 560 million people with MTN high-speed networks. We operate across 17 countries in the continent, another 4 in the Middle East. all of this has been delivered in partnership because we needed to be welcomed into the countries. We needed to get licenses. We needed to get all the approvals to roll the network out. We've worked with, major technology partners to build the networks. So I don't think it's so much that we need something new. I think we want to get the narrative across that the success has been driven by partnerships, that MTN will be a key enabler of progress going forward, and we need to celebrate and build on that partnerships in the future.
But as we wrap up, exactly what does this campaign, this initiative mean for people on the ground? You mentioned the young people, you mentioned small businesses. How does this translate into their reality, what MTN has launched now?
So what MTN has basically launched is a story about what's been done and what lies ahead, okay? And so it means, under the framing of we're good together, is that we can all do better and make more progress if we work together. That can apply equally to a partnership between MTN and the government of a particular country, as it can to our MTN operation on the ground, delivering rural connectivity, connecting schools and clinics, as we've done, more than 1,000 schools connected in MTN's programs over the last few years, and equally providing cost-effective solutions to small businesses, to very small businesses providing prepaid pay-as-you-go solar solutions, which is another big factor in many of the countries. So we want to put out there that we are a partner for progress, that we're open for business, that we are building the kind of solutions that the continent needs. Yes, we have dependencies as well. We need partners to work with us to deliver that. But much of what we need is in place, and we will only progress further in a partnership basis.
Well, Rob, thanks so much for your time. A perfect note to end the conversation on. Of course, that wraps it up for us here at the headquarters of MTN. From myself, Fifi Peters, and the team, it's bye for now.